All right, man. So, I just want to get started. I never really know when these things start. So, I like to talk a little bit in the beginning and just say, I'm Dennis. I'm the owner of Man Up Life Coaching. In Started in San Diego, headquartered in San Diego, and I'm here chatting with my dude Zach Parr, who is a coach in training and has been for the past couple of years. So, Zach, let's talk about today's topic. What we're going to be talking about is delivering tough news. You're a dad, you're a coach, you're a sports coach, and you're a Marine. Um, what are your thoughts on the do's and don'ts of men giving men tough news in professional environments and in personal relationships?
Yeah, I think there's a spectrum of how people do this today. Um, I think there are those folks who come out and they are avoidant, so they don't want to deliver any tough news whatsoever.
Mhm.
And then there are others who are sort of the bull in the china shop. They say whatever it is that's on their mind um, in a method of being transparent, right, or being open.
Mhm.
They say, "Well, I'm just going to be honest, and if it hurts your feelings, it doesn't really matter."
Mhm.
So those are kind of people I think fall somewhere on that spectrum. Um, I think one of the things is you got to really think about why you're trying to deliver tough news. You want to make changes, and the best way to do that is at an appropriate time. I think a lot of times people will either, like I said, avoid it altogether, or they'll just blurt it out in a group setting. Those don't lead to positive change. They don't get to where you're trying to go, and they limit your ability to actually, use that tough news or that tough information delivery. It prevents it from getting anywhere deeper into the relationship or into the situation.
So let me ask you a question. You have experience being in the military, experience being a Marine. Can you give me a very specific leadership moment that you experienced in the military where you had to deliver tough news and were requiring the person or persons you were speaking with to make adjustments without butt hurt? And is that really how it works, or is there going to be butt hurt anyway? And how does that work? You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah. I think one of the really prominent examples I go back to is while I was in the Marine Corps, I helped train folks in communications. That was my specialty. And so um, sometimes that was the new recruits essentially, right? They get out of boot camp, they get sent to a school, they get told you're smart, you're going to go learn this thing. Um, and in some cases, we'd have people who were exceptional um, that did really well, and we had people who were exceptional who did really poorly. So an example of this is the really smart guy who's in high school, and he's so smart he doesn't even need to try. He just got through. He was kind of like, man, this is so easy. I learned a couple things. I put it down, and he kind of wasted all the time or potential. So in one case, I was talking to a particular Marine. I said, uh, you are doing poorly because you can't apply yourself. This is harder than something you've done before. It requires a greater degree of commitment and focus, and you're not used to it. And so you're doing bad. And they had requested to go do kind of a lower level job, which would have been way beneath them. And I just kind of had to break the news to him and said, look, I said, I'm willing to go out on a limb here and say that you probably got through school. You didn't really try. Um, you took your test. You sometimes did homework. You sometimes didn't. You got through. You graduated. And things, you're so capable that you don't have to actually apply yourself very hard. And I think initially there is some butt hurt, right? There's always going to be a little bit of like cold water shock. Um, but what had ended up happening was we had enough of a relationship up to that point that it came across with the content or the context that I was delivering it. Um, and literally the next day, that person had come up and said, you know what, I've thought about this, and you're like spot on. You're 100% on point. That is kind of how it's been. Um, and they went on to ace the course, and they themselves ended up becoming a leader, and down the road, and even years later, they'd reached out and said, no one had really taken the time to call me out on my crap, that I had respected, right? So there's a level of you've got to build a bridge, or at least attempt to, and then you've got to be able to deliver it in a way, being deliver it in a meaningful way.
So, I've been leaning into the three sieves philosophy for years, which is the idea that if you're going to deliver, well, it's a filter that theoretically you should be running everything through before it comes out of your mouth. Is it true? Is it necessary? And is it kind? Is it kind doesn't mean is it a kind thing? It means, are you saying it in a way that's kind rather than unnecessarily, like gratuitously being a jerk? So it sounds like to me, in your situation, you are in a position of authority as um, a Marine, talking to a fellow Marine, saying, you're trying to get the rat to take the cheese. You're saying, you're here, you're trying to get here. I am giving you being a mirror for you and telling you that the trouble that you're going to have is not an indictment of your character, but rather an observation about some suboptimal behaviors. And if you can let your ego down a little bit, make these adjustments, your result is that you will do better. Yes, of course, that's going to suck because it's not a validation. You want to hear, you're great, you're the best, you're my favorite person ever, nobody's better than you. Um, but instead, you're hearing, day late and a dollar short there, chief. And so the guy, thankfully, while his feelings might have gotten involved, rationally recognized what the dude said was true, whether I like it or not. Clearly, it's necessary. And he said it in a fair way. He took the advice and he grew from it. We could argue that that represents a lot of what we do in coaching. It's about taking guys who are trying to get to the next level and not breaking them down like, crawl, you worm, but just saying, the reason you haven't gotten the thing is because there's something in your way and it's you. I mean, amen.
Yep, 100%. I think this happens a lot with all walks of life. We see it from the coaching perspective with people who are having challenge in their relationships, people who are having challenge with their kids, people who are having challenge with their career. Right? There's a very common pattern. The situation's different, the circumstances are different, but our job is to essentially kind of root out what those kind of hangups are, what those roadblocks are, and help everyone navigate around those to get through, and have the tools to do the navigation on their own eventually, right? And grow.
Yeah, I think that's right. We only have 2 minutes here, but I want to ask you really quick if you can squeeze it in. Did you work with only dudes or did you have women Marines that you worked with as well?
Yeah, we had a lot of Marines that were female. We had female Marines, and they're pretty prevalent, especially in our field.
And do you find um, that a Marine is a Marine is a Marine? Did you find that a woman could sort of, cowboy up and take the criticism just as well as a dude?
Yeah, it did present different challenges. There was different interactions with it, but I think that female Marines are particularly tough, and they are known for being that way. So they are able to pony up. It's not identical though. It's not, you know, I talk to John the same way I talk to, Jessica over there. It doesn't work that way, but they are able to kind of pony up. They are very much in a male centric field, right? And the people who are going into that know that. and they take the challenge on. But it is somewhat similar, but it's not the exact same. There is a little bit of a delivery mechanism that you have to
Nuance
kind of
there
do.
that you have
Yeah,
to kind of a little bit of a code switch that you have to do, right?
yeah. Where you see it the most is when a female Marine who's a leader is addressing a female subordinate. It's identical to how a male to male would address each other. But it's there is a difference when a male leader is talking the same way to a female subordinate with the level. It just comes across a little different.
Got it. Um, that seems like a topic for another one of these. That's actually pretty interesting. All right. So for now, we can wrap this up by saying we're men, we coach men. The brand is manuplifecoaching.com. You can visit us at maillifecoach.com. I'm Dennis, he's Zach. And if you have some inconvenient truths to share with the bro, um, in particular, you want to make sure that what you're saying is true, what you're saying is necessary, and what you're saying is kind. If it satisfies all that criteria and they get a little bit of butthurt, give them time, give them space, and hope that they reconcile that for themselves because you did nothing wrong. That's how we grow, and iron sharpens iron. All right, we're going to shut this down.